I've always felt it's a symbiotic relationship. I just feel like if we support them, they're going to support us.
Mhm.
And what we have found is the more that we can educate them and give them the tools that they need to be successful, it actually helps them build their business.
Running a retail business doesn't have to be so hard. Welcome to the Creative Shop Talk podcast, the go-to podcast for creative shop owners, studio owners, and independent retailers. I'm your host, Wendy Batten, retail business coach and mentor. Each week, I'll share simple, proven business strategies, inspiring stories from fellow retailers, and advice from industry experts. Together, we're going to work to find the success you want from your retail business with more profits in your till and a little more joy in your life. Hey there, friends, and welcome to episode number 51 of the Creative Shop Talk podcast. I'm so happy to have you here today, my friend. And I just wanted to do something a little bit different, and I've decided to invite a few retail brand owners into the chat with us here at the Creative Shop Talk podcast. I've had an interesting position, I guess, if that's the right way to say it, that I've worked with a lot of different brands over the last 4 years and a lot of different industries, bridging the gap as a retailer and retail sort of care manager, and working with brands and helping them understand the point of view from the retailers, and also working, of course, with hundreds and hundreds of retailers, helping them understand the point of view of the brand. And both sides have stories, if that makes sense. So I thought it would be fun to do that here on the podcast as well too. We're seeing more and more different brands and different, not just in the creative world. I'm seeing it all over the place now. More and more brands really taking an interest in helping their retailers. Of course, it's going to be a win-win, right? For brands to help their retailers promote their products, be educated on the products, learn more, all of the things, right? To help retailers sell more of their product. Obviously, that's a win-win. And from the retailer's point of view, they get educated, they feel more confident and have more clarity. But one thing, and this is just a side note here, one thing I see occasionally with some of the retailers that I have the pleasure of working with is that they think the brand is the one who should be doing all of the marketing and teaching them how to run their business. And that's not really the brand's job. They're there to support you. But there are more and more retailers, or more and more retail brands, that are really stepping in and trying to help their retailers. So it's really a bonus if you have a brand that you're working with that is, trying to support you. It's one thing to provide marketing material. It's another thing to say, here's how you learn to do Facebook or whatever it is that they're teaching you. So it's quite an interesting dynamic that's happening in the retail world right now. And lots of brands have stories. And that's why today I invited on Suzanne Fulford. She is the founder and CEO of Dixie, Belle paint company. And, everybody has a story, and they're doing such an amazing job at supporting their brands. I have tons of retailers that work with the Dixie, Belle paint company inside my retailers inner circle. And I've also had the opportunity to speak and work with the company itself, seeing what their point of view is from the brand's point of view in supporting it. It really is a win-win, but it's so interesting to hear backstories on the company's why. So what is their why? So we talk a little bit about that. I've also asked Suzanne to share a little bit about industry trends and what's happening and what we have to get ready for as we move forward through this new season of business. One of the other things, and the other reason I wanted to invite different brand owners into the podcast here, and I have a few others lined up over the next couple of months, so I'm kind of excited about it. But I think it's more and more important for us to work with brands that align with our values. It's not sort of the same as before and just selling widgets. And, we're more conscious of the books we sell and the jewelry we might have. Our customers are also more conscious of that as well too. So it's interesting, right? So that goes right down to the paints we carry and all of the products on our shelves. They have to align with our values. And I'm not saying that, every pencil and pen and everything that you sell, you research and, have a relationship with the brand, but we probably do. We're not going to sell anything that makes us feel icky or yucky. And we're seeing that more and more. People seem to value, just like our customers do, with this small shop revolution is what I'm calling it. And, shop local and, being more conscious about where they're spending their money. We are doing the same because our customers are asking us to, and it feels good. So working with brands that have a good reputation, that have values, that aren't, again, yucky. I don't know how to describe. Somebody said, well, what do you mean yucky? You know what I mean? Kind of yucky. If something makes you feel yucky, and that might just be your own personal, opinion of a brand, maybe, right? So, or your customer's opinion of a brand. So integrity and values matter moving into this new retail season and this new world of retail that that's going to explode and that we're all getting ready for. So I just wanted to bring on some brand owners again, just to have a conversation and chat with us about the future, the trends that are happening, and also, just to get to know the back end and see how brands are working together with retailers to make it a win-win situation. So grab a coffee, grab your paintbrush, start unpacking boxes, whatever it is you do while you listen to the podcast, which we're so grateful for, and have a listen. And don't forget, please leave us a review. Let me know any takeaways. Let me know how you feel about working with brands. And also, I'd love to know, send me some info on who else you would like, what brands you love, and who you'd love me to have a chat with. I've invited some brand leaders on, and I'm pretty excited about some of the upcoming series that we have for you. So there we go, my friends. Let's sit back, have a coffee, and listen to the conversation I had with Suzanne Fulford, founder and CEO of Dixie Belle. Let's go. Hey, everybody, and thank you for being here today. I have an amazing guest today. I'm excited to introduce to you Suzanne Fulford. She's the founder and the CEO of Dixie Belle Paint Company, and I am excited to have you here, Suzanne. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Great. I am inviting industry leaders on the podcast, and because I think it's important to hear not both sides of the stories, that sounds so dramatic or whatever, but to introduce and to bring together why it's important that retailers and creatives, shop owners work with brands that are walking the same steps with them and just diving in about the industry. I love what you guys do. You guys do an exemplary job of working with your retailers. Not your whole job, though, is to just support retailers, but I love how you do it. And I just wanted to I'm going to be bringing in more industry leaders, because I really do think it's an important conversation. And also, we're going to talk a little bit today about where you see the industry going, the paint industry specifically for your paintpreneurs and for retailers and shop owners. But before we get going, I was wondering if you share a little bit about your journey and how did you end up becoming the founder and CEO of Dixie Belle?
Well, it's funny. It wasn't something I actually intended to do. I kind of just started it and I wanted to see where it would take me. So basically I started with, painting, just like everybody else out there. I painted furniture. I was sanding, priming, doing all of that kind of stuff. And it was a real creative outlet for me. I was going through a really hard time in my life and had a lot of different challenges that were going on. And I'm not an artist. Like, if you asked me to paint you a picture, I could not do it. However, painting furniture, it was like the big canvas, and it was a great creative outlet for me. And I found when I did that, it took me away from, the world and everything that was going on at the time. So it's a really good coping mechanism for me. And then I, heard of this paint where you didn't have to sand or prime or do anything like that. And I was really interested in that. And I looked to purchase it, but it was pretty expensive. And so I kind of thought, well, paint isn't really all that much. It's, binders, pigments, water, whatever, mixing it together and, seeing kind of like cooking. So I, experiment with a lot of different things, and I came up with something that I liked, that I could paint my furniture with, that was durable, that I could stand behind, and all of that, with no intention of doing anything with it. So I did that, and I had an Etsy store for a while, and I was shipping furniture all around the country, which is difficult. And I realized that I didn't really want to ship everywhere anymore. So I looked for a local store, and there was one right around the corner from me. So I opened up a spot there, and, I was successful with my furniture and selling it and doing well. And while I was there, she asked people to help and to work at the counter and all of that, which I was more than willing to do, because I wanted to know what people were buying. Because if I know what they're buying, I know what to paint. And I was doing that, and people kept coming in. Hey, where I have stuff I want to paint. Where can I get this paint? Where can I get this paint? We were sending them down into Tampa to buy it down there. And I said to the store owner, after a few weeks of this, you really should look into carrying this paint, because everybody's coming to look for it. And she was kind of like hemming and hawing, because she felt like it was, when I started, and I don't know if I don't think it's really still going on, but a lot of people didn't want to teach people to paint or provide the paint, because they felt like then they wouldn't buy the furniture, or then they would just all paint themselves and not hire people to do it, which I never really understood, because people are still going to buy things if they like it. But if you have furniture at home that you want to paint, they're not going to, not buy your thing, because it's right there perfectly in their home. They just need a different color. So anyway, she decided that she would look into carrying some lines. The lines were really expensive to start. And I was like, wow, that's crazy, because I know how to, make this stuff. It's not, rocket science. So I talked to her about carrying it, and she really didn't want to do it. I don't know why. I still to this day don't know why. And I was pretty upset, because it was something that I felt like there was a really good market for, and it would help people. I mean, it would help businesses. It would help people like myself that actually got a lot of therapy from it, and other people I had talked to who had kind of done the same thing, felt the same way. So I decided to open up another location, open up like a little place that I can afford with a friend of mine. It was off the road. It was a terrible location, but I felt like we could at least advertise. And I really wanted to try selling my paint and see if there was a market for that. So we did. We opened up a little store, and we sold our furniture. But I also was selling the paint. And so I knew it was good. I knew that, it was a good quality product, and I knew it worked. But I didn't, and I knew I could probably sell it, but I was really after the repeat sale. So I, put it up, and people started buying it, which was awesome. But then they started coming back and buying more. And then they had their friends and family come in buying it. So basically, I knew at that point I had something that was really good, and I kind of worked my way from there. My background, previous life, I always say before my kids, was in sales. So I was okay. I called different people around the country, and I sent them samples and that kind of thing. And just that was kind of natural for me. But it wasn't really very hard, because everybody was kind of looking to do it. So kind of one thing led to another, and I sold enough furniture to fund my paint, until I didn't have to. I was selling enough paint to fund my paint, and then I just kind of grew it from there.
So what year would that have been when you
Well,
opened the shop?
I mean, I started painting a while ago, but as far as the paint and all, actually starting to come up with a viable plan to do it, I would say it was 2013. But I incorporated January 1st, 2014. That's when I officially said, okay, I'm going to try this. I'm going to do it and kind of jump in the river. That was always my mind in my head. I was just going to jump in the river and see where it took me. I didn't really have any expectations. I just was going to, people always say, well, how did you do this? And I always say, I next stepped myself, because if I thought about it, I would never be able to do it. I did not have a business plan. I mean, I kind of had one in my head, but it wasn't all on paper. I wasn't going to borrow any money. I was going to fund it all myself with things that I was selling and you know, reinvesting into the business. So it was kind of like, you know, my husband was working at the time. We didn't have any money to spend. I had kids or extra money to spend to put into a business. All of this was just like money that I was help supplementing his income with. So I wasn't going to do anything to jeopardize that. So I just I said, all right, what do I need first? The first thing I need are, you know, names of the paint. Then I'll need a website. And I did that all for free myself. I need to take pictures. I took the first pictures myself, all for free, put them up. I mean, it took a lot of time, which is what I did have time. I didn't have money, but I did have some time. So just kind of, all right, I got this done. Now what do I have to do? Now, I mean, I didn't know anything about, I had no, I wasn't, I'm not a computer person. I just, kind of plodded along every step of the way. Just, all right, what's next? What's next? What's next? What's next? Yeah. And otherwise, I just would have been overwhelmed and not been able to do anything.
Right. So it's interesting because I remember when you opened, to be honest. I can remember when you started. So 2013.
Really?
Yeah. So 2013, I opened my store. Say very similar stories. It's really funny. And I think even a lot of retailers listening, I'm sure, started and we just kind of grow. And I call it bootstrap growing, right? We're just growing. I'm a planner. My retailers are all my coaching clients that are listening and they're like, oh, see, she didn't plan. But I'm a big believer in kind of have an idea of where we're headed. But I don't think we have to have all our things together to move forward. If you try to wait till you have the perfect website and you would never stop. Like I started my coaching program with a PayPal button and literally like just, some conversations with people. And that's how I started coaching you. People are like, oh, you didn't have it all. It's like, no, but same thing. I bootstrapped. Instead of opening a product line, I jumped into coaching fellow retailers. But it's interesting because I do remember at the time it was so hard to get paint. For me, it was really, really hard to get paint. It's funny. I'm similar. I opened up like in the boonies and I just it was just and the same sort of thing. It was one step at a time. And again, I think a lot of people listening can take from, and my intention for these podcasts are to take inspiration from people. So just keep one step at a time, do what you have with what you have, right? We don't have to have it all figured out to make big progress and have big things happen. I mean, so you built a brand that fast forward now is, how many retailers do you, I don't know how many retailers you must have now. So
a lot.
I work with a lot of your retailers. So I don't know how many you have.
A lot. Yeah. I at least 2,000, which is crazy.
That is crazy. So fast forwarding. So I know you have, there was a lot of steps between then and now. You have a head office. Now you have an incredible team working with you, which is something I wanted to touch on because I think it's really important. Running, so I've been on both sides of the fence. It's really interesting. I've worked with several brands as retail care manager. I've been in marketing positions, and I've worked on business teams with 4 different brands. So it's been fun. I think I have a unique perspective on, and now I work full time with retailers. So I have a unique perspective on retailers. Opinions of their brands, maybe that's the right word, but like what they expect from their brands, and from the brand's point of view, how they have their own. We have our own investment. You have your own investment in your company, right? You have to protect yourself. You can't do everything, but also how brands, I guess, work with their retailers. So it's almost like a 2-step, right? Everybody has different agendas, but the end goal the end goal is, let's sell more paint. Really, right? Like let's sell more paint.
I mean,
so I'm really fascinated with how your team you take your marketing, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but if you want to share with us a little bit, I see that your marketing team, and I see other brands doing this too, but specifically with your brand, you have a large marketing team that
Yeah, we
I had
do.
the opportunity to meet and touch base a little bit with your marketing team. You have a marketing team that markets your products, but you
Mhm.
also you have a very big investment in marketing individual retailers with your marketing in your marketing. Can you speak a little
Right.
bit to that and and why do you invest so much in giving back to your retailers?
Well, I've always felt it's a symbiotic relationship. I just feel like if we work together, a rising tide lifts all ships.
Yeah.
And if we support them, they're going to support us. But again, we also realize we're dealing with, mom and pops. We're not dealing with big corporations.
Mhm.
And I think because what we have found is the more that we can educate them and give them the tools that they need to be successful, and not necessarily in paint, because everything that we teach them, they can use towards other things that they're doing, whether they're selling soaps or candles or even other paint lines. It it actually helps them build their business. And because most of our retailers do not have that kind of business education, it's kind of like a hobbyist that came in and where they were like, "Oh, I can do this. I can make some money. I can share. I can do whatever I want to do in my little town, and maybe have some extra money for my family." It will be, it will help. And so understanding that and understanding that they don't necessarily have all the business acumen that, larger retailers have. Now, some of our retailers do. They've, been around a long time and this is not their first rodeo, but a lot of them don't. So we just have always felt it's a symbiotic relationship, and we're really there to help them grow. And we really come at everything with a heart of helping people, whether it be an end user, kind of like myself for therapy, or an end user who has their own paint, refinishing business, or the retailer who is looking to have more of a presence and wants to open a brick and mortar. That's been their dream. So we really try to help people reach their dreams, and no matter what that dream is.
Yeah. So I see that in practice. And again, that is, you know, uh, for those that listen regularly to the podcast and know what I do, I am such a believer in helping. I call ourselves the kitchen table CEOs because we have to, our board of directors is sitting at our kitchen table, right?
Yeah,
But
very true.
business education is, um, paramount, I think, for a success to get where we want to go, whether that's just to have some extra spending money and, whatever, open the brick and mortar, whatever that is. Understanding the foundations and marketing concepts and all of these things. So that's my whole mandate. That's my whole, my whole
Yeah,
vision is to make sure that independent shop owners have the support and tools that they need to grow their business. And so
right.
working with brands like yourself and again, there's other brands doing this, but you have done a couple of things that I've seen that's a little bit different. Again, one of the reasons I wanted to invite you on. And because you have a university program, I just think,
Yeah,
yeah, you have
that's
it like a
great.
Dixie Belle University. So
Yeah.
again, I've had the opportunity to meet and work a little bit with some of your team members through that, and a lot of your retailers, they talk about it. Can you just talk a little bit about your Dixie Belle University? I just think it's a cool idea, and again, comes right from my heart, knowing that that's what I want to support retailers too. So yeah.
Well, it kind of gets back to the whole, symbiotic relationship, and the fact that, the more we were doing this, the more we knew our retailers, knew what their issues were, knew what our issues were as a brand trying to grow.
Mhm.
It's about, educating even just on how to use the products on, for that. And then how to give a class, because a lot of people wouldn't know how to give a class. And also, retail psychology, like all of this is very, very new to people. So I'm trying to think. Terry is my CMO, and she is amazing. She's just a plethora of ideas. And when the two of us get together and we brainstorm, it's like boom, 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 all over the place. And I remember us talking about it, and I'm trying to remember how exactly it came about. I think it was somebody else was, there are not too many original ideas. Somebody else, I think, was doing it, not in our industry, but in another industry. Yeah. And so we were like, you know what, that would be really cool if we could do that. And so kind of one thing led to another, and it's just kind of grown from there. And then we also have a mastermind group that's grown from there, in which we use as like our beta testers. Not almost, we do use them. We different policy changes or different products or different ideas. If we want to get another perspective, we use them, and they're amazing. So we've really kind of just we're very out of the box thinkers, and whenever we have kind of a problem come to us, we just kind of try to figure out the best way to work it. And we might not always do it the best, but we always try to learn and do it better the next time. So a lot of the things that we have come up with is because there's been a need, because there's been a difficult situation or a challenge or things that are happening that we don't really know how to deal with. So we kind of think of outside the box. All right, we're having some issues with our retailers, maybe not knowing all the products, or maybe their stores could use a little help, or, or they're telling us these issues that they need help with. So how can we help them? And, we just kind of use all of that information and make it work, and then grow from there. But not everything works. A lot of it does. If it doesn't work, we just regroup and move on.
Well, that's just like I akin that to we try a paint color on a piece of furniture sometimes, and we're like, "Ooh, that is not looking good." So we just repaint it, right? I mean, like, right. People always, and I say that in jest, but not really. I mean, we have to try, and then just do more of what's working. And again, I regularly talk about that. Like, I mean, how many times have we had to repaint furniture that just sits because it's not selling, right? Yeah. Or whatever. It's just it's nothing wrong with the furniture. It just needs a new paint job, right? So. And also nothing is permanent. And I say that because, we try things and it's working, it's not working. One of the things in marketing our paint, so product education is super important. And I mean, at the very basic level, I think I call us weirdo product people because we're selling, like, this doesn't happen in the candle industry. We do not have candle university. Like, people do not need to know how to use the candles. You don't have candle companies feeling responsible to teach or to brand their, to help share the brand of their, you just don't see that, right? I mean, you might a little bit of education on, what's in the candle, but we don't have to spend hours and hours and hours teaching people about candles, but we do about our products, like different products. Any DIY product comes with what the heck is that, right? Or how do I use that? And so product education is super important, and a lot of brands do stop at that. So I do appreciate and see that you guys are trying to help, or your company is trying to help, and help in two ways. Help doing the same thing I do. I guess we're aligned in that way. I love when retailers come to me and they're like, well, we learned that at university, and I was like, yeah, it's awesome. It's important because it's not just about running a store. We can have the best products. We can have the best DIY products. We can have the cutest shop in the whole town. We can have the best customer service with the biggest heart. And if we just don't have all the other pieces, we don't have good, foundations. And so I love that you're spreading the word of, running a better business is important, and having like merchandising and all the things, because that's important. And people don't know what we don't know. We don't all have business degrees in running retail, right? So, so it's that's sort of where, one of the things that I do, so not just product education, not just business education, I also see, and this, I'm always telling my retailers to look for this when they pick brands, even for candle brands or whatever brands they're looking for their clothing brands, is having a company that supports you and puts you in front of other people. And I know you guys do this consistently, which I know to great success for some of your retailers. And Other people probably shy away, but you are really, really good at putting your retailers live. Like, not,
Yeah.
I was about to say throwing them out live because I don't mean it in that.
Kind of is.
Yeah, but no, but it's really, and again, not just, this is for, those listening, this is for, think about how a brand is supporting you. This is a really great idea to be able to go and be on live in front of you have a huge following on Facebook alone. I'm not a big believer in Facebook being our only marketing. And I know you guys aren't either, but Facebook is just, people want to see and they want to watch. I mean, I'm addicted to watching some of your retailers.
They're great. I know they are. They're entertaining. They're fun. It really is. And it's important. I think one of the things that we feel is personal growth is really, really important. If you're going to grow your business, you have to grow yourself as a person.
Absolutely.
And getting and doing live is really scary and really hard to do.
Yeah.
It looks not as hard, I'm sure, unless you've done it. But imagine just like holding up a camera and talking to it and being entertaining with really nobody talking back to you. It's not easy. And a lot of our retailers have done it, and they've done it really, really well, building their own kind of brand as a person, which, I think it's important, especially as women, that we support each other and don't tear each other down. We really, really try to support everybody. Everybody's different. I might like somebody and you don't like them. But another friend of yours loves them, but you don't. Everybody interacts differently with everybody else. So, we have a lot of different personalities, a lot of different styles, a lot of different, genres, really. So, it is about also, it's still promoting our retailers, giving them that platform, helping them grow, helping them get out of their comfort zone, and, having them find out, that they can do this. And it really empowers them. And when you're empowered, you'll also take more, I'll say, risks.
Yep.
And more chances, which will also help you grow. So, it's kind of a good cycle for everybody.
Well, it's that next step, right? It's that,
okay,
this is, and it's interesting because I was watching, and a lot of retailers, and you might be listening right now and thinking, oh, I can't do that. Or you might be a pro and like, I don't think twice about going live. I've been doing Facebook Live since the beginning of the dark ages. I feel like I was one of the early adapters to Facebook. It doesn't bother me, so it sometimes surprises me at how fearful it is for others. But you have to it's the same. I go back to this painting analogy, right? The first time you picked up a paintbrush and you were like literally afraid to like slap that paint on that leg of hair. It was like fear, right? But once we start doing it, now you don't think about it. It's confidence about any part of our business isn't innate. Like, we're not born with that confidence. I hear retailers say, I was watching a retailer on your doing a live the other day, and she was saying, and I say this regularly, I was not confident. She was painting away and she was talking away to the audience, and we're not born with that confidence. It's like driving a car. It's like painting furniture. It's like anything that we do, right? It's just skills growing, the next level, right? We just, like I just said, we just keep doing the next thing.
Well, and one of the things I think that I've seen is people get so fearful because they compare themselves against other people.
Well, that's it.
And then they feel like they have to be perfect. If I'm not perfect, I'm not going to do it because it's not going to be perfect. Well, guess what? It's never going to be perfect. It will never be perfect. And if you're waiting for perfection, you're your own worst enemy. I always tell people, and this is the way I started too. People would say, well, what about when this happens? Or what about when that happens? I'm like, I'll deal with it when it gets there, if it even gets there. But Lord only knows. But I always say, is it good enough? It's good enough. Good enough is good enough.
Yeah.
You can fix it later. Are you happy? Is it good enough now? Okay, is it perfect? No. If it's perfect, that's, every once in a while I would paint a piece that was perfect. But I always saw the imperfections. I always felt like, it wasn't really totally the way I thought in my head, but, it was good enough. But somebody else loved it. They never saw those imperfections.
Yeah.
So your own
Yeah,
worst critic
so
in your
it's really great. That's a great analogy as well too. I've never painted a piece of furniture, and so it's funny. I'm also like you. I'm a good furniture painter, but I would never call myself an artist. But
head.
every piece of furniture that I painted, and I painted thousands, like you,
Yeah.
um, there was always like it's never perfect, right?
No.
And I always tell my retailers, well, a B is better than an A plus, right? Like getting a B, or you don't want to put a F out there. You don't want to put like a complete like just saying that because it's just not what most people feel that they're comfortable even. But putting your best foot forward today, and your first live shouldn't look like your 50th live. I mean, and there's nobody in the world that does anything 50 times and it's the same as it was, on day one. So we're always learning. Again, let's not spend time and money and energy in making it perfect. Let's just get it done. I'm a doer. I'm a like, let's just push play and go. And I have purposely kept my I've done it because I've shared them with, and they're really embarrassing back on my my old front porch mercantile pages. I've kept those lives there because they're so bad, but you know what, I just did them. I often joke about, and I tell my retailers this all the time, my first Facebook lives were done with a wine bottle, my phone, and a hair tie, holding on a wine bottle. You can picture it, right? Like in front of me, and me holding up my painting things and spending the first 4 minutes asking people are we live? Let's wait till everybody joins in. Like, I'm mortified by it, but that's what we did like back in the day, right? That's just, got it done. But back to letting retailers shine, which is what I think you guys do really well. This year, more than ever, I think video has been important this past year, because if people aren't in our shops as much, it's been really, there's been a lot of shifts, but there's been a lot of interest. Those of us in the creative DIY world, it has been a crazy year,
right?
Full of lots of potential to those who chose to make that happen this year. That's how I see it. I see those that wanted to, but it took a lot of courage and a lot of pivots, and a lot of it was a hard year. We talk about it all the time on the podcast, but it was a hard year as far as, stepping out of our comfort zones of what we expected to happen and what we were doing. So how do you see, what do you see for a silver lining over this past year for your retailers, for the industry itself, maybe? Because I think there's been lots of silver linings in this hard year.
Well, from what I've heard from a lot of our retailers is, like you said, the retailers who took the bull by the horns and, said, this is not going to stop me. Like at first, I think everybody was like worried that, well, honestly, at first I was like, well, this is going to be great for our retailers because all the big stores are going to close. Little did I know the complete opposite was going to happen. But then the retailers who were able to either stay open or do the porch pickups or deliver and do all of that, and they were able to do that. I can't tell you how many retailers told us, Dixie Belle was the only thing that kept their doors open. The only thing is paint and paint sales and all of that, because everybody was painting and redoing kitchens and just redoing their house and furniture and all of that. So that was a very unexpected silver lining, especially when all the small stores were getting closed down. That was very upsetting to me. I felt horrible for them. But the ones who really just, like you said, bootstrapped it and were like, all right, how am I going to do this? They made it work. So I think actually, a lot of people made it through a really difficult time. And so sometimes just getting through that time, knowing that you can do it, you're like, wow, if I made it through COVID, I can make it through, whatever comes next. So that's always a good confidence booster too. It'll be interesting to see what's coming. I think that, I always think DIY and furniture painting and all of that will always be here in some form or fashion. I know when I first started years ago, people are like, oh, it's a fad. It's never going to last. I'm like, do you know, how long people have been painting furniture? It's really popular now. Maybe one day it won't be as popular, but people are always doing things like this. They always have. So, I think that I'm not sure exactly where it will go. but I definitely don't think it's a flash in the pan.
I 100% agree with you on that. I do not see this industry. I see this industry thriving more because people are more aware. I think that people are more homebodied. I know we were forced to be more homebodied, but I do believe that people's mindset has shifted as well too. I think hobbies have become back in
Yeah.
vogue. I think like whether it's painting furniture or using the paints for whatever else, like just
Right.
loving on your house, homesteading, all of those things. I don't think that's going away. I think people's values have changed. I think there's been a colossal shift. I see that. And in other countries where they're coming out of COVID and pandemic and all of this, because I work with retailers all over the world. I'm so blessed. I work with, New Zealand, Australia,
Wow.
yeah. And so New Zealand, let's just take New Zealand alone. Like, they're back to normal. They don't have their
Right.
children, but everything's open. They've been open through most of this. And, the DIY world got attention, I guess. I don't know if that's the right word.
Yeah, it did.
Had a nice bolt and hit, and all of a sudden, so there's all these new. So I do see that. I see antique, vintage, repurposing furniture not going anywhere. As I see secondhand furniture and like relove. I think we just have different values right now, and that all comes back to being creative and being who we are, and that's what we foster, right? We foster people, not just it's not just painting furniture. It's
No.
so, and also. I feel that the silver line to what you were saying as well too, the silver lining in here, what I see for creative DIY and shop owners, they're stronger. If you've gotten through this,
Yeah.
interestingly enough, just like my coaching programs are pretty much full, or they're much
Wow.
more full because people have kind of gone through that. They're like, okay, I survived. Like,
Yes.
they're surviving. I've had a great year. A lot of people had great years, or they had a hard
Yeah.
year, but they got through it. And now they're like, all right, I need to shore up the foundations, right? Which is what I
Mhm.
teach, what you guys help with too. So it's just, to me, it's been an interesting, positive silver lining, I guess, to see all these creative things happening. And also retailers are starting to really see what they want from their business. That's been an interesting silver
Yeah.
lining and I hear that from a lot of, like, they're really happy and, happy where they are, I guess. Yeah, where I'm supposed to be. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm lit up by it, which is what we want for our business, right? You said that at the beginning. That's why you did, you just enjoyed what you were doing. So,
Yeah.
so what's next for Dixie Belle Paint? Do you have
Well, as you know,
big things happening? Yeah.
Yes. Well, we just launched our silk line, so that's going to be more available in the coming weeks. So we're really, really excited about that. That's a great addition. We are releasing our transfers. We're releasing some rice paper. We're releasing a lot of different things. And we're releasing some new brushes. So we have a lot of different, things under our belt that we're, putting out there for everybody. And, so we're excited about those. We're working on those and getting those out there. So, we just keep moving forward. We are talking about our workshops next year or our convention next year. So hopefully that will take place. Obviously this year it didn't. So, we're looking forward to that. We're looking forward to, just who knows what? There's always stuff going on.
Aren't we all looking forward to conventions and conferences?
Yes,
I miss retailers so much. I host retreats and conferences as well, and I cannot I cannot wait to be back surrounded by. I mean, Zoom is great. This is wonderful. Communication's great. We're so grateful. We're so lucky. But that those conventions are great. And I know there's retailers listening right now that are like, yes, I just can't wait to get on a plane. Go with my people, right? So
I know. Well, we're social creatures at the end of the day. We really are. But we need that human interaction. It's important.
I regularly say that these conferences and conventions that we host and go to are the magic happens. It's the education is great, but the magic happens sitting around the lobby or the pool, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's where like meeting other retailers and like-minded people. And, I try to bring that together a little bit in my Retailers Inner Circle, like on a virtual format, but it's really hard. It's just those conversations are just priceless. So I'm looking forward to that too. And I see that you have a lot of big things coming up. So as we wrap up, I appreciate your time. I know we're running late and I want to honor your time today. But as we wrap up, I would love to know if you have any advice or a mantra, or is there anything that that you like to share, a piece of wisdom, I guess, if you will, with other retailers, something that you like to share with people?
One of the things that I see a lot of, and when I talk to retailers, I used to talk to them a lot more than I do now, unfortunately. But one of the things is I like to tell people to run their own race. Don't get sidetracked. Don't get pulled into the minutia of different things that are going on. Don't worry about so-and-so doing things over there, or what's happening down the street or with your neighbor or whatever. Run your own race. Just be true to yourself. And, if you feel yourself kind of getting away from that, pull yourself back in. Don't let people steal your energy, and don't let people bring you down. Just stay focused on what you know is in your heart, what you want to do, and just run your own race.
That's fantastic. And what a great way to end. Thank you so much for being here, Suzanne. I appreciate you being here.
Wendy,
it's great. We'll have to have you back on. So thank you so much.
Well, that's it for this week's episode of the Creative Shop Talk podcast. I'm so glad that you were here to join us this week, and I hope you found value in what we're sharing here. I want to remind you that our website has all of the show notes. You can find it at wendybatten.com/podcast. Everything that you need to hear about today's podcast is there. Also an opportunity if you need to reach out to me. If I can support you in any way whatsoever, please feel free to reach out. Make sure you join our Rockstar Creatives Facebook group. We will continue the conversation over there weekly. So thanks for joining us. Please leave a review, subscribe if you can, and never miss an episode. We hope to see you back here again next week. Thanks, my friend. Have a great week.